From the New Arts and Media Studios in Milwaukee, I'm Charles Purcell. This is The Log. Staying healthy. I haven't had my breakthrough case yet. I am masking up, though. Oh, Lord, what can we say about this? Well, we reached 70% of Americans have at least one dose of the vaccine. The jump in vaccines in the last week or so has been tremendous, so I guess that's the good news. But there's still that 25 to 30% who they look like they're just never going to do it. And they're enough to hold us back from progressing into normal life. And that's not even to mention the rest of the world where there are countries where 1 and 2% of people are vaccinated. They want it and they can't get it. We've got more than we need, and people are still refusing. So 70% was the goal, of course, the much ballyhooed goal of Joe Biden. By July 4th, that was what he wanted. Well, we got it about a month late. 70% have at least one dose of the vaccine. Now, that's an average. That includes everybody. Now, there are places where the percentage is 80, 90%, and then there are places where it's 30%. And as long as these areas, and we've heard them now, Louisiana, Arkansas, Florida, other places, as long as there are these huge pockets with such low numbers, well, they're the ones peeing in the pool, basically. It puts us all in danger. So that 70% mark is really nothing to get too excited about. Only, 58% of Americans are fully vaccinated, have both shots. Now, I don't know what the difference is, actually. I'm not sure how much protection you have from one. Maybe you know that answer. I don't know myself. But, these large pockets of unvaccinated folks, I mean, even within states, you might have pockets of high vaccination rates and then large swaths of counties in the state who aren't vaccinated. Have you seen the map of people who are vaccinated? It's an exact replica of the 2020 electoral map by county. If it's a Trump county, you're not vaccinated. If you're a Biden county, you are, by and large. You can overlay the two maps. They're practically identical. So we got to get up to 80, 90, the experts are telling us, before we can even dream about having what we used to all expect, and that was herd immunity. Now, of course, and I'm telling you nothing you don't already know here, I think, this damn Delta variant, what has had me scared from the very beginning of this, and now the experts are starting to weigh in and give us reason to be scared. You know, you're not you're not paranoid if people really are following you. Yeah, the Delta variant, first of all, wouldn't even exist except for the non-vaxxers. It's all their fault, the non-vaxxers. There's no getting around it. There's no being nice. There's just facts. The only reason a virus can mutate, the only opportunity it has to mutate, is if it continues to spread. And it only spreads when people allow it to. Everything we're talking about is preventable. Everything. All of this is preventable. Going back to the very beginning and the terrible response from the Orange Menace and his administration, all of this is preventable. Hundreds and thousands of deaths, and where we are right now. It should never have happened in the first place. And now it just continues. And to finish my thought, I interrupted myself. Yeah, this damn Delta variant and the whole idea of viruses mutating, as long as it's able to spread, it has opportunities to mutate. And those who refuse to get vaccinated are allowing for future mutations. We don't know what's coming next. What we've learned only recently now, just really, it's been reported very recently, is that I guess we already knew, I guess we've known for a while that vaccinated people could still catch the virus. But your chances of getting sick are very low. Your chances of getting hospitalized are extremely low. Your chances of dying are almost nil. So that was the good news. But we've known for a while that, yeah, there's a chance you could still catch it and you could pass it on. Now, what we've learned just very recently is we vaccinated folks catch the Delta virus at similar rates of those unvaccinated. It almost doesn't make a difference. So that's why we have to mask up again. That's why we have to keep social distance, because we can all catch it. We can all pass it. Now, the good news is for those who are vaccinated, so far with the Delta variant, we're not getting violently ill. We're not dying, at least not in great numbers. It can still happen. There's still a possibility. It's like 1 in 1,000. And like I said the other day, I don't like those odds. Even if it's 1 in 10,000, I don't like those odds. And I certainly don't want to pass it around. So I've been masking now for a couple of weeks. There are some areas, Bay Area out in California, maybe a pocket full of others, are bringing back mask mandates. They're talking about it everywhere. And some places like Florida and Texas have passed laws against it. Nobody wants to mandate a vaccine. I think even the most radical among us who want to do everything we can for public health, nobody wants to mandate a vaccine. Even to me, that seems pretty weird, to pass a law that says you have to take a needle in your arm. That, nobody wants that. But as far as what we do next here, I'm very happy to see that employers around the country are mandating. They can do it because they can just say, well, no, we can't make you get the vaccine, but we can say your job depends on it. If you want to work here anymore, you have to get the vaccine. And I think that's absolutely justified at this point. President Joe has made that decree for federal employees, at least in certain agencies. I'm not sure if it's government-wide. I'd have to look into that. Maybe you know this better. I don't think he's done it for the military yet. I don't know why. Again, you better double check me on this. I'm not sure if I got my facts. But I know for sure President Joe has mandated vaccines for at least some federal employees. Some governors are mandating it for state employees. Many companies are mandating it. Certainly healthcare entities are mandating it, and that's good. That's the way it ought to be. There are certain businesses, Broadway, theaters. You got to show your card to get in. So if that's the way we have to go, I hope that just mushrooms and explodes overnight, where just virtually every private company in the country says, you want to work here? You want to shop here? You want to enter our building at all for any reason? Show me the Vax card. Because they have every right to do it. Unvaccinated people are not a protected class. All right? So don't start... Anti-vaxxers, don't start throwing the Constitution up at me. Oh, we have our rights. No, you don't, actually. You don't have any rights. You're not a protected class. A business can't keep out somebody because of their race, their ethnicity, their sexual orientation. No, those are protected classes. You're a dumbass who doesn't want to get vaccinated and you're putting the public health at risk. No, we have every right to shun you. And I think that's the way it has to be. And everybody, if it's within your power, if you're a boss, if you're an owner, if you're a manager, if you're in any way a decision maker, you got to take this stand. Every single death from this moment on is preventable. And you can point your finger squarely at people who refuse to get vaccinated. That's just all there is to it. Not to mention, do we have to even keep repeating this? Kids under 12 can't even get a vaccine. And unlike the original virus from a year ago, where kids were practically immune, it was really rare for a kid to get this thing, let alone get sick and die. Now it's happening all the damn time with the Delta variant. Kids are getting really, really critically ill, and some of them are dying. And you're not only anti-vaxxers, you're not only allowing the Delta variant to spread, you are inviting whatever the next mutation is. God bless America. What are we going to do with you guys? I think it's time for an all-out shun. You can't walk into a store. You can't walk into a bar. You can't walk into a theater. You are going nowhere without your card. We, as the general public, have every right to do that. Private companies have every right to do it. State and local governments have every right to do it. You are on the wrong side of this fight. I mean, come on, anti-vaxxers. And I know there are lots of different kinds of anti-vaxxers. There are lots of different reasons. The one I'm most familiar with is my people. I mean, these are my people. I'm kind of with the alternate crowd. They're not going to jump on board with every single thing the government says, and they're not on board with Western medicine, and they don't trust the pharmaceutical industry and all of this stuff that I'm usually right there with you. I'm that kind of a person. But I'm also a person who can look at damn numbers. I mean, with any decision we have to make, you just have to go on best evidence. We can't know anything 100%. I'm a skeptic to my core. I don't claim to know anything 100%. I'm a philosophical skeptic. If I throw a pencil up in the air, will it drop to the ground? I don't know. I think it will, based on the million times people have done it. So I'm going to, if I have to decide, if you're going to make me bet, if you're going to hold a gun to my head and make me answer, I'm going to say, yeah, I'm thinking it's going to come down. Well, that's with everything. Every single decision we make in life is like this. Do I eat that apple? It might be poisoned. Yeah, but chances are it's not. I don't know. It might be. But what are the odds? What do the numbers tell you? Everything's a risk. Should I cross the street? Well, I know for certain that there's a number. There's a finite, definite number out there of people who get hit. There's a percentage. I have a calculated risk every time I cross the street. Now, if I take pretty good precaution, I look both ways, I'm kind of careful, I can reduce my risk, but everything's a risk. I make my decision based on that risk. Well, I personally have made the decision about getting the vaccine based on everything I can surmise. Not being a scientist, not being a researcher. We've talked about that. We talked about that the other day. Don't claim you're doing research by watching a bunch of YouTube videos. You're not doing research. No, the CDC is jam-packed filled with actual scientists who do actual research, and they didn't do it just today or yesterday. They've been doing it their whole damn lives. So yeah, even though I'm a skeptic and even though I'm generally not really trusting of large establishments, I'm just looking at the damn numbers. I know how many people have died. I hear the report on the news and I see the doctor talking about how his hospital is running out of beds. I can take this in. Now, you might say, well, you're taking in your own information. Well, no, you're selecting. You're selecting from a particular pool of information that suits you. I'm not doing that. I'm casting a wide net. I'm looking at what seems to be real and not real, what seems to be reputable and irreputable. And I'm making a personal decision. You keep saying, make your own decisions. Well, what else can we do? We're all individual people. Yeah, everything I've done since the day I was born was my decision, basically. And everything from the start of this pandemic, I've made my own decisions. And just like everything else in life, you take a calculated risk. Is getting the vaccine a calculated risk? Yeah, I suppose it is. Maybe 5 years from now or 2 years from now or 20 years from now, we find out, that was a bad thing we did. You know what? I'm going to take my chances because the alternative is not acceptable to me. The alternative is 600,000 people and counting dead. And we all have a part to play in that. And that's the part we get, that really gets it down. That's where the rubber hits the road. And the old thing about, I don't know how to tell you to care about other people. I don't know how to convince you that caring about other people is important. And that especially goes for those of you saying, well, I'll take my chances on getting the virus. I'll just die. I'd rather die than give up my freedom. Okay, well, that's just stupid for a couple of reasons. You're not giving up anything. You're taking a vaccine. You're wearing a damn mask. You're not giving up any freedom. So get over yourself. And even worse than that, the number two and just the topper of them all, it ain't about you. It's about the thousands of people who are going to get violently ill and die in the next weeks and months. unless all of us get on board. And it's especially about kids under 12 who have no choice in the matter. So come on, you guys. God, the whole cancel culture thing. Man. All right. See, I try not to get too excited about this. I've got a social media friend who, she's really funny. She's the resident comic of my feed. She's really good. And I don't know where she finds these photos. She finds old vintage photos. I'm not sure what site she's going to find them. More often than not, they have something to do with sex. She's very much into sexual humor. But she's mostly, at her core, she's mostly a feminist. So she always has a really nice feminist slant, pro-feminist slant, on these kind of weird, sexualized, vintage, very much dated photographs. And they'll be like book covers or album covers or magazine ads or things like that. And she's awfully good at commenting in a very funny way on these images she finds. And the reason I bring it up is because it really is all about cancel culture. The images she shares with her friends are all completely unacceptable. I'm looking at one of them right now. It's a woman showing just tons of cleavage, looking in the camera very much sexualized, with it looks like an early 70s, late 60s, early 70s kind of vibe. There's a guy behind the bar standing a little too close and looking at her. And she's saying, "I never even thought of burning my bra until I discovered Smirnoff." And then the bottom caption, "Anything's possible when you learn to handle Smirnoff. Smirnoff vodka." So it's disgusting. It's gross. It's kind of horrible. And you look at it and you say, that would never, ever fly today. Nobody would accept this. It's sexist and disgusting. And the reason it's not here today is because of what some people call cancel culture. Yeah, some things get canceled. That's a good thing. We improve over time, and we ought to. Maybe on a future show, I'll gather up a collection of her best work and share it with you. It's very much a visual thing, so it's hard to share in this setting. But I realize I sang her praises. Her name is Lynn, by the way. I'll just give her first name. Lynn. And she's my resident feminist comedic commenter. She's very, very good. And yeah, what people call cancel culture is absolutely appropriate. Things have to die. And then they can come back later and we can mock them and we can use them for comedy. But we can't use them to sell vodka. All right. Here's a little update on the war between Kevin McCarthy and Nancy Pelosi. Of course, Kevin McCarthy is a horrible human being, waste of a suit, and that's given him the best of it. He's the minority leader in the House, wants to be Speaker after the 22 midterms. And speaking of cancel culture, well, his defenders are saying, oh, it's just a joke. Can't you take a joke? Yeah, you know, some people don't understand what a joke is, how jokes work. If you haven't heard the story, he was making a little speech to about, I don't know, I think there were about 1,400 people in the room, and they all laughed and laughed. When he said, I want you to watch Nancy Pelosi hand me that gavel, because that's what happens. If the other party takes over, if they win a majority of the House of Representatives, then that party takes over the Speaker's chair, and the previous Speaker hands the gavel to the next Speaker. That's the way they've always done it for years and years. So he's hoping that will happen. He's talking to this group of 1,400. He says, I want you to watch Nancy Pelosi hand me that gavel. It will be hard not to hit her with it. Yeah, that's what he said at a GOP fundraiser in Nashville over the weekend. And they all laughed and laughed. Oh, what a funny joke. Well, the response is what you can expect. All decent human beings in the country kind of hear this and they cock their heads and think, what the hell are you thinking? In your world, that's funny? The 1,400 Republicans in the room thought it was funny because the Republican Party is no longer your father's Republican Party, as the expression goes. No. The Republican Party now is an illegitimate, fascist, white nationalist, white supremacist, illegitimate party. Undemocratic, un-American. They need to be destroyed. They need to not exist anymore. They have no redeeming qualities whatsoever. And 1,400 of them in a ballroom can hear Kevin McCarthy talk about striking Nancy Pelosi with a gavel, and they can laugh. And they have no idea, just not the slightest clue how that's not funny. And they hear the complaints. How dare you speak in such a disgusting manner in the guise of a joke? And they're just puzzled. It's just a joke. The current American right wing, the illegitimate repugs, they've lost their way. Part of their brains aren't working. I don't know what's going on, but they ain't right. They have no idea how entirely off the rails they are, how completely out of touch they are. They're a lost generation. I don't know what we can do with them. It's kind of like the anti-vaxxers. And there's a pretty big overlap between the people I'm talking about. The Orange Menace wing of the Republican Party, which is basically the Republican Party now. Yeah, there's a pretty big overlap between them and the anti-vaxxers. Not 100%, but that Venn diagram is pretty fat. The overlapping part is pretty big. So what to do with them? Just beat them. Beat them at the polls. Shun them. Shut them out of civilized society. That's really the only thing we can do with the repugs. Just shut them out. They have nothing to give. They have nothing to add. They have nothing to contribute. Would I be going on and on like this over one joke? Probably not. But it's just so quintessentially indicative. Before we sign off here, have I got a little time? Yeah, I got a couple minutes. I just want to weigh in on the whole Simone Biles thing. It's an amazing story. And of course, I'm going to come down 100% unequivocally on the side of Simone Biles and her supporters. She has every right to do what she's doing, to drop out of some events, to take care of her own mental health. There are no ifs, ands, or buts about any of this. No qualifications. I'm entirely 100% in her corner. I guess what I'd mainly like to say today, I'd like to express my gratitude. I'm thankful today. I feel like I've learned something over the last week that I didn't understand before. And I don't know about you, but for me, that's what I live for. This is the greatest gift that I can receive on any given day, to really learn something that I hadn't understood before. And I guess I've had feelings that I couldn't express kind of in the back of my head that rejected this very American thing about having to be the best all the time. And those who reach these great levels of excellence, they're supposed to be heroes, and we lionize them and sanctify them. I've always felt in the back of my mind kind of uncomfortable about that. And I've never really expressed it because I wasn't sure if I understood it myself. And this recent news with Simone Biles especially, and also the Japanese tennis player, what's her name? Naomi Osaka. The idea of putting your mental health first and your own well-being ahead of some weird patriotic obligation you have, or even a more nuanced and deep-seated obligation to be the very best. It's just a great lesson in humanity. And those two incredible athletes and really, really strong women have helped me to understand that. It's also given me just another little level of understanding that, I mean, let's face it. I'm a man, I'm a cis male, hetero, I'm older, I'm white. There are a lot of things that maybe I'm going to get a little slower. I try my best. But as women of color, pressure of being the best, and then add in this incredible story of Simone Biles, the foster care experience, the sexual assault that she suffered from Nasser, and that all of her contemporaries suffered, and how she stood up not only for herself but for them. The decision-making process in the last week, where she knew that she wasn't only doing this for herself, she was also doing it for her teammates. They'd have a better chance if she stepped down, allowed someone else to take her place, which turned out to be the case. Got a couple of gold medals, a couple of silvers from events that she stepped down from. So, again, I'm not telling you anything you don't know. If you're following this story, you know more about it than I do probably. But my underlying message today is one of gratitude. It's really taught me about some things I didn't quite understand about mental health, about the feminist struggle, about women of color especially, about this pressure that I can't ever fathom. In my more kind of selfish, narcissistic moments, I kind of try to relate. Well, what if my little podcast here, The Log, was suddenly a sensation? What would it be like if I was suddenly known around the world and everybody was hanging on my every word? What kind of pressure would I have every time I opened up this microphone? Would I enjoy that kind of power? Would I enjoy that kind of fame? I'm almost certain the answer is no. I think I'm very happy right where I am. I've got you, and I've got an undetermined amount of listeners out there. I'm not even sure how many people are listening, but I know I've got you. It's you and me. I know that for sure. And I've got my nice little family down at WXRW, River West Radio. And, that's fine. That's where I like it. To be in a position where all eyes are on you, all ears are on every word, nah, you can have it. I don't want that for a second. So, much gratitude. Thank you to Simone Biles and to Naomi Osaka. I couldn't be more grateful for the lessons I feel I've learned. I just feel like a better person. I feel like I've gained something. And I really do appreciate it. So just all my thanks. All right. Well, good luck to all you athletes. Good luck to all of us. And hang in there, everybody. I love you. I'm Charles Purcell.